One boring decision made me $12,000 richer, and I didn't invest a single dollar. Most people think building wealth means stocks, crypto, or some secret financial strategy nobody told you about. But what if I told you that the biggest money move I ever made was something you'd laugh at, something so simple, so unsexy, that your friends would actually make fun of you for doing it? That's exactly what happened to me, and by the end of this video, you're going to rethink every small financial decision you've ever made. Let's go back 4 years ago. I was standing in a phone store, credit card in hand, ready to drop $1,100 on the latest flagship smartphone. The sales rep was smiling, the display was shining, and every part of my brain was saying, "You deserve this upgrade." But something stopped me that day. Not discipline. Not a budget plan. Just one uncomfortable question I asked myself out loud. That question completely rewired how I think about money. And the answer to it, over the next 4 years, quietly put $12,000 back into my pocket without me ever feeling like I was sacrificing anything meaningful. No spreadsheets. No side hustles. No waking up at 5 a.m. to grind. Just one decision, made once, that kept paying me back every single month. Now I know what you're thinking, $12,000 from not buying a phone. That math doesn't add up. And honestly, I thought the same thing at first. But when I actually sat down and calculated the full cost of the upgrade cycle, not just the phone price, but everything attached to it, the number shocked me. It'll shock you too, and I'll break down every dollar in just a moment. Before I do that, I want you to understand something important. This video isn't just about phones. It's about a pattern, a very expensive pattern, that most people repeat every 2 years without ever questioning it. Once you see this pattern, you'll start spotting it everywhere in your life, and that's when your financial situation starts to actually change. So let me ask you something first. When you think about buying a new phone, what number comes to your mind? Most people say somewhere between $800 and $1,200. That's the price tag on the shelf, that's what your brain registers, and that's where your thinking stops. But that number is a lie, not because the store is cheating you, but because the true cost of a phone upgrade is never just the phone itself. There's an entire financial iceberg hiding underneath that price tag, and most people never look below the surface. The first hidden layer is your trade-in loss. Phone companies make you feel like you're getting a great deal when they offer you $200 to $350 for your old device. But your 2-year-old flagship phone, if sold privately on platforms like Swappa or eBay, can fetch anywhere from $450 to $650 depending on condition. That's a difference of $200 to $300 that you're quietly giving away just for the convenience of handing it over at the counter. Over multiple upgrade cycles, this single habit alone drains hundreds of dollars from your pocket without you ever noticing. The second hidden layer is your accessories reset. Every time you switch phones, your old case is useless, your old charger may not be compatible, and suddenly you need a new screen protector, a new cable, maybe even new earphones. The average person spends between $80 and $150 on accessories every upgrade cycle without even putting it on their mental budget. It feels like small spending, $20 here, $30 there, but it adds up faster than you'd expect, and it's money that disappears completely because accessories have almost zero resale value. The third hidden layer is the one nobody talks about, your plan upgrade trap. Carriers know that when you get a new phone, you're emotionally excited and mentally vulnerable. That's exactly when they upsell you to a higher data plan, an extended warranty, or a device protection package. Studies show that over 60% of people end up on a more expensive plan after upgrading their phone. Even a $10 monthly increase means $120 extra per year, and over 2 years, that's $240 silently bleeding out just because you upgraded at the wrong emotional moment. Now let's put all of this together and talk about the actual number, $12,000. Because when I first told a friend how much I had saved by not upgrading my phone, his exact reaction was, "That's impossible, you're exaggerating." And I completely understand that reaction because on the surface, $12,000 sounds like a stretch. But once I walked him through the math step by step, his expression changed entirely. So let me walk you through the same breakdown right now, because every single dollar in that number is real and completely traceable. The base phone cost over 4 years, assuming a standard upgrade every 2 years, would have been 2 purchases at roughly $1,100 each, that's $2,200 gone immediately. Add the trade-in loss of $250 per cycle and you're already at $2,700. Stack the accessories reset cost of $120 per upgrade and you hit $2,940. Now add the plan upgrade trap, an extra $15 per month over 48 months, and that's another $720, bringing your running total to $3,660. And we're not even halfway through the full picture yet, which tells you just how deep this iceberg actually goes. The next layer is opportunity cost, the most powerful and most ignored concept in personal finance. That $3,660 sitting in a high-yield savings account at just 4.5% annual interest over 4 years doesn't stay $3,660. It grows. Compounding turns it into roughly $4,380 by the end of year 4. But if you had invested it into a basic index fund averaging 10% annual returns, which is the historical average of the S&P 500, that same money becomes closer to $5,360. So the real cost of upgrading isn't just what you spent, it's also what that money could have silently grown into while you were sleeping. Now add 4 years of Instagram comparison pressure, which quietly pushes most upgraders into one more habit, buying the newest phone case, the trendiest tech accessory, the latest wireless earbuds every single time a new phone drops. Research from consumer behavior studies shows that new phone owners spend an average of $340 more on surrounding tech products within the first 3 months of an upgrade. Multiply that by 2 upgrade cycles and you add another $680 to the pile. Add everything together: phone costs, trade-in losses, accessories, plan increases, opportunity cost, and lifestyle creep, and $12,000 is not just believable. It's actually conservative. So now you know where the $12,000 came from, every dollar accounted for, every hidden cost exposed. But the more important question is what actually happened to that money once I stopped letting it disappear into the upgrade cycle. Because saving money means nothing if it just sits there doing nothing. The whole point of plugging a financial leak is to redirect that flow somewhere it actually works for you. And that's exactly what I did, intentionally and consistently, starting from the very first month I made that decision in the phone store. The first thing I did was automate a $250 monthly transfer into a high-yield savings account the same day I would have started paying off a new phone installment plan. I never saw that money in my checking account, so I never missed it or felt tempted to spend it. Within 8 months I had a fully funded emergency fund for the first time in my adult life. That alone changed my relationship with money completely, because when you have a financial cushion, you stop making desperate decisions, and desperate decisions are exactly what keep most people broke regardless of how much they earn. The second thing I did was take $4,000 of that saved amount and put it into a simple S&P 500 index fund. No stock picking, no complicated strategy, no financial advisor fees. Just consistent, boring investing into something that has averaged 10% returns historically over the long run. That $4,000 has already grown significantly and continues compounding every single day completely on its own. The phone I didn't buy is now quietly building wealth in the background while I sleep, which is the most satisfying feeling I have ever experienced as someone who used to live paycheck to paycheck. The third thing I did was use a portion of that money to invest in a skill that directly increased my income. I took an online course, learned video editing, and eventually started this very channel. That investment returned far more than any phone upgrade ever could have, not just financially, but in terms of purpose, creativity, and long-term opportunity. And here's the part that still blows my mind: all of this started because I didn't buy a phone. One small decision created a chain reaction that completely restructured my financial life from the ground up. Now here's the part that nobody in the personal finance world talks about honestly enough: the reason most people keep upgrading their phones every 2 years has almost nothing to do with the phone itself. It's not about the camera. It's not about the processor speed. It's not about the battery life. It's about something much deeper, much more emotional, and much more carefully engineered by some of the most brilliant marketing minds on the planet. Understanding this trap is the difference between being controlled by your spending and actually controlling it. The trap has a name, it's called planned obsolescence combined with social signaling. Phone companies don't just release new phones because the technology improved. They release new phones on a predictable cycle because they've studied human psychology deeply enough to know exactly when your excitement about your current device starts fading. That fade happens around 18 to 22 months consistently across millions of users. So the new release is timed perfectly to land right when your satisfaction is at its lowest point and your desire for something new is at its peak. You think you're making a free choice, but the timing was engineered years before you walked into that store. The social signaling layer makes it even more powerful. Humans are wired for status comparison, it's not a flaw, it's biology. For thousands of years, signaling your position in a group kept you safe and gave you access to better resources. But in the modern world, that ancient instinct has been hijacked by consumer brands. When your colleague pulls out the latest iPhone in a meeting, something triggers in your brain that has nothing to do with logic. It whispers that you're falling behind, that you look unsuccessful, that people are noticing. That whisper is worth billions of dollars to phone companies and costs ordinary people thousands every single cycle. What makes this trap especially dangerous is that it works even on people who know about it. You can understand every single thing I just explained and still feel the pull when a new phone drops. That's how deeply conditioned this response is. The only reliable way to break it is to replace the identity attached to upgrading with a stronger, more exciting identity. For me, that new identity was the person who sees through consumer traps and turns every saved dollar into future freedom. Now I want to be completely honest with you here because this video isn't about telling you to never buy a new phone for the rest of your life. That would be unrealistic, impractical, and frankly not even good financial advice. There is a right time to replace your phone and there is a wrong time, and the difference between those two moments is worth hundreds if not thousands of dollars depending on how clearly you can tell them apart. Most people never learn this distinction, which is why they always end up replacing their phone at the worst possible time financially. The wrong time to replace your phone is when your brain is excited. When a new model just dropped, when your friend just got one, when a carrier is running a limited time promotion, or when you're feeling financially confident after a good month, these are all emotionally charged moments that feel like the right time but are actually the most dangerous time to make a big purchase decision. Excitement clouds your cost analysis, makes you ignore hidden fees, and pushes you toward the most expensive option on the shelf. Every phone company, every carrier, and every retail store is designed from the ground up to manufacture exactly this kind of excitement on demand. The right time to replace your phone is when functionality genuinely breaks down in a way that affects your productivity or safety. If your battery can no longer hold enough charge to get you through a working day even after a battery replacement, that's a real reason. If your camera has physically stopped working and your job or business depends on visual content, that's a real reason. If your phone can no longer run essential security updates and your personal data is genuinely at risk, that's a real reason. Notice that none of these reasons have anything to do with a new model being released or a better processor being available somewhere else. And when that genuine replacement moment does arrive, the way you buy matters just as much as when you buy. Buying a certified pre-owned phone that is 1 or 2 generations old can save you between 40% and 60% compared to buying brand new, while still giving you a device that runs smoothly and reliably for another 2 to 3 years. Selling your old phone privately instead of trading it in adds another $200 to $300 back into your pocket instantly. Keeping your existing plan instead of letting a carrier upsell you saves another $10 to $20 every single month going forward. One of the most common questions I get when I share my story is, okay, but how did you actually keep your phone in good condition for 4 full years? Because most people's phones start feeling slow, beaten up, and frustrating well before the 2-year mark even arrives. And that frustration is exactly what pushes them back into the upgrade cycle before they even realize what's happening. So in this part 1 want to get practical and share the exact habits that kept my device running smoothly, looking clean, and feeling fast for 4 consecutive years without a single repair visit. The first habit was protective investment on day 1. The very first day I got my phone I spent $35 on a high-quality case and $15 on a proper tempered glass screen protector. That's a $50 one-time investment that protected a $1,100 device for 4 years. I never cracked my screen, never dented my frame, and when I eventually sold my phone privately, the buyer commented that it looked barely used. That pristine condition added at least $150 to my resale value compared to the average used phone in the same model category. $50 in, $150 extra out, that's a 300% return on a case and screen protector. The second habit was battery discipline. Most people never think about how they charge their phone until the battery is already degraded beyond recovery. Keeping your battery between 20% and 80% charge instead of constantly draining it to 0 and charging to 100% can dramatically slow down battery degradation over time. I also avoided charging my phone overnight for the first 2 years, used a proper wattage charger instead of cheap third-party cables, and kept my phone out of extreme heat as much as possible. By year 3 my battery health was still sitting at 87%, which is remarkably high and meant I never needed a battery replacement throughout the entire 4-year period. The third habit was regular software maintenance that most people completely skip. Every 3 months I did a full audit of my storage, deleting unused apps, clearing cached data, and offloading old photos and videos to cloud storage or an external drive. I also restarted my phone completely at least once a week, which clears temporary memory and keeps background processes running efficiently. Everything I've shared so far has been about phones, but I need you to understand that the phone was never really the point. The phone was just the clearest, most relatable example of a much larger mindset shift that quietly separates people who build wealth from people who wonder every month where their money went. This shift isn't complicated, it doesn't require a finance degree, and it doesn't mean living like a minimalist monk who owns nothing. It's simply the ability to see through the performance of spending and focus instead on the power of ownership, and once this shift clicks, your entire financial life starts reorganizing itself automatically. The core of this mindset is understanding the difference between cost and value. Most people evaluate purchases by cost. How much does this thing cost me right now, today, at this moment? But wealthy thinkers evaluate purchases by value. How much does this thing return to me over its entire lifetime, and what does buying it actually cost me in terms of future opportunity? A $1,100 phone purchased impulsively costs you $1,100 today but actually costs you $5,000 to $6,000 in compounded opportunity over 4 years. A $50 course that teaches you a marketable skill might feel expensive today but could return $50,000 in income over the same period. Same dollar amounts on the surface, completely opposite financial outcomes underneath. The second layer of this mindset is learning to find your identity outside of consumption. This is the hardest part for most people because modern society has spent decades linking self-worth to spending power. The car you drive, the phone you carry, the clothes you wear, the restaurants you post about, all of these have been carefully positioned as signals of success, taste, and personal value. Breaking free from that positioning doesn't mean rejecting nice things entirely. It means developing such a clear and exciting vision of your financial future that buying things for status simply stops feeling as rewarding as building something real and lasting for yourself and the people you love. The third layer is building what I call a spending pause habit into every non-essential purchase above a certain threshold. For me that threshold is $200. Anything above that amount gets a mandatory 72-hour waiting period before I act on it. In that 72-hour window I ask myself 3 questions. Do I need this or do I want this? Will this still matter to me in 1 year? Now that the mindset is clear, let's make this completely practical because mindset without application is just motivation that fades by Tuesday. The same framework I used with my phone, calculating true cost, identifying hidden layers, understanding the psychology behind the purchase, and redirecting saved money intentionally, applies to almost every major spending category in your life. And when you start applying it across multiple areas simultaneously, the financial results don't just add up, they multiply. That's when wealth building stops feeling like discipline and starts feeling like momentum. The first category is your car. The average person upgrades their vehicle every 3 to 4 years, and the true cost of that cycle mirrors the phone situation almost perfectly. Depreciation alone on a new car averages around $3,500 in the very first year of ownership. Add financing interest, increased insurance premiums on a newer model, higher registration fees, and the accessories reset that comes with every new vehicle, floor mats, phone mounts, seat covers, and the real cost of staying in the car upgrade cycle is somewhere between $8,000 and $15,000 every 4 years depending on the vehicle category. Driving a reliable, fully paid-off car for 2 extra years beyond when you feel the upgrade urge can free up an amount of money that would genuinely shock you when you calculate it honestly. The second category is your wardrobe. Fast fashion has engineered the same upgrade cycle psychology into clothing that phone companies use with devices, seasonal drops, limited collections, influencer pressure, and the constant feeling that what you already own is somehow not enough anymore. The average American spends over $1,800 per year on clothing, and studies show that most people regularly wear only 20% of what sits in their closet. Building a smaller, higher quality wardrobe of versatile pieces that last 4 to 5 years instead of chasing every seasonal trend can save between $4,000 and $6,000 over a 4-year period, money that disappears so gradually through small purchases that most people never even feel it leaving. The third category is your subscriptions, and this one is the sneakiest of all because each individual subscription feels completely insignificant on its own. A $15 streaming service here, a $12 music platform there, a $9 news app, a $20 cloud storage plan, a $25 fitness app you opened 4 times. We've covered a lot of ground together in this video: the hidden costs of the upgrade cycle, the psychology behind why smart people keep falling for it, the habits that extend the life of what you already own, and the framework that applies across every major spending category in your life. But information without action is just entertainment, and I didn't make this video to entertain you, I made it to actually change something in your financial life starting from today. So this final part is your clear, simple, and completely actionable plan that you can begin executing within the next 24 hours regardless of where you currently stand financially. The first action is to calculate your own upgrade cost honestly. Sit down tonight with a pen, a paper, and your last 2 years of bank statements. Find every dollar you spent on devices, accessories, plan upgrades, and surrounding tech purchases. Then calculate what that exact amount would be worth today if it had been sitting in an index fund at 10% annual returns instead. Most people who do this exercise for the first time experience a genuine moment of financial clarity that no book, podcast, or motivational video has ever been able to give them. Seeing your own real numbers on paper hits differently than hearing someone else's story, and that personal clarity is the most powerful motivator that exists for lasting financial change. The second action is to identify your single biggest upgrade cycle right now, whether that's your phone, your car, your wardrobe, or your subscriptions, and commit to extending it by just 1 year. Not forever, not permanently, just 1 additional year beyond when you would normally pull the trigger. Calculate exactly how much that 1-year extension saves you in direct costs alone, set up an automatic transfer of that monthly amount into a separate account on the same day you would have started paying installments, and then watch that account grow for 12 months without touching it. 1 year of one redirected upgrade cycle is enough to fully fund an emergency fund for most people, and a fully funded emergency fund changes every financial decision you make going forward. The third action is to share this video with one person in your life who you know is stuck in the upgrade cycle without realizing it. Not to lecture them, not to make them feel bad about their choices.